What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. It is Tuesday, March 8th, and NFL Armageddon is upon us as Russell Wilson has been traded to the Denver Broncos. Sound the sirens, fire up the air horns, get loose. What a freaking day in the NFL. Of course, this is our second emergency podcast of the day. Shout out to John and Ryan.
And Brinson thought he was going to take the day off.
Again.
I didn't think. Well, we were planning a podcast this afternoon on the.
Why would anything happen on franchise tag day? That would be weird.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's a good point. Look, it's my fault. I'll take the L. By the way, Aaron Rodgers tweeted out a few minutes ago that any contract news or contract specifications are false. Fake news, but he's coming back to Green Bay to play this year. So hopefully everybody listened to this podcast and took the Packers minus 150 to win the NFC North, as I will point out over and over and over again, even when Kirk Cousins is killing me. Anyway, more importantly, the AFC West now features maybe the greatest collection of four quarterbacks in NFL history. I can't think of a better division than Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, and Derek Carr. And I'm giving Derek Carr his flowers, as the kids say. Is that's like a thing that's like a thing now. At any rate, John Breach, Ryan Wilson, what's up, fellas?
So, Breach, apparently Brinson is off the Matthew Stafford bandwagon. Toot sweet. And I'll ask you specifically, Breach, we had this conversation about Aaron Rodgers going to Denver a few months ago during the offseason. You said that team would automatically be the best team in that division. Where do you stand with Russ Wilson replacing Aaron Rodgers in Denver?
You know what's funny about Russell Wilson is that I don't think they're the best team in that division with Russell Wilson, even though I thought that automatically with Aaron Rodgers. I think they're probably the second best team, but maybe not even that, because here is the crazy thing about Russell Wilson. I just want to see him out in a football field fully healthy, because remember, he didn't look great coming off his hand injury down the stretch for the Seahawks. And so you're kind of trading for someone who's basically coming off an injury. And if Russell Wilson ends up playing like Russell Wilson, I think they're probably the second best team in that division, but I would probably still put the Chiefs above them.
All right.
Now, wow.
Sorry. But we don't know that Russell Wilson is going to look like the Russell Wilson of old, because he came back and played like 8 games after his hand injury and didn't look like the Russell Wilson of old.
Look bad.
Prisco just tweeted that he thinks Seattle will try and trade for Deshaun Watson.
Ooh.
Good God.
That's
juicy. Remember like 24 hours ago when we thought this is going to be the quarterback carousel was going to be slow?
Yeah.
And you know what the crazy thing is? If they just take some of those picks that they got from the Broncos, say the 2 first-round picks and 1 of the second-round picks, and that's enough to get Deshaun Watson, then the Seahawks
come out ahead.
Exactly. They come out way ahead, because you have Noah Fant. Now you have Shelby Harris. Now you have
Jamal Adams.
You have a good backup quarterback in Drew Lock.
Well, and the thing is, if you had a disgruntled Russell Wilson and you swap him for Deshaun Watson, and Deshaun Watson's legal issues are cleared up, you have.
But you're not even doing that. You're swapping him for Deshaun Watson,
Noah Fant,
Shelby Harris, and in Breach's scenario, an extra second-round pick.
It is possible to. Well, and remember, we have been told or informed largely that the Texans want 3 picks, 3 first-rounders, and 2 players. So, and we don't want to let this veer into that's down the road. We'll have a Deshaun Watson emergency podcast. At any rate, and Molly P, love Molly P, points out that Seattle radio, I'm assuming that's KJR probably too, said they don't think the ownership group will want Deshaun Watson. So that's entirely possible as well. And
as for the other team, and Scott Pioli mentioned this on HQ, Broncos are for sale. So this is the way to pretty it up. Bring in.
That's a great point.
Bring in old Russ Wilson there, as opposed to Drew Lock.
If let's say the Broncos are, if the Broncos are sold this offseason, the prevailing logic was that Denver would go for something around $4 billion. I mean, I'm you're probably going to laugh at me for saying this, but I think there's a chance that if
There's a path to
Russell
what?
Wilson, there's a path. There's a path.
a
to 5
path.
billion. Like, I mean, if you feel like you get Russell Wilson now under contract, you have all these skill position guys, you have a good defense, you have a brand new coaching staff. If you're an owner buying this team, don't you at least consider the possibility that like you're going to win a Super Bowl in the next 3 years and you're willing to pay a ton of money for it?
Well, you weren't thinking about that with Drew Lock for sure. So I think
Correct.
you
Exactly.
certainly consider it with Russ Wilson because he's been to 2 and won 1.
But the numbers are so big. Let's say the Broncos are going to sell for $4 billion. Adding Russell Wilson over Drew Lock, like what does that add to your total bid? You're not going to add $100 million to your bid because of that. So like it could up the sale by like 0.1%, but we're talking about such substantial numbers. I don't think it's going to have a huge impact.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to go up by $1 billion. I mean, I know that's kind of ridiculous, but I mean, they might.
You just said that. I believed you. I just put in a $1 billion extra bid. Now I'm screwed.
Wilson's trying to make his eBay bid for the Broncos there.
Cancel.
Unfortunately, Mr. Wilson, we cannot take your money. We have run the financial background on you, and it turns out you do not have $5 billion.
Jokes on the Broncos. I don't.
By the way, Wilson caught himself on HQ earlier today. You said, I can't remember what you said instead, but I had made there's a path joke.
Yeah.
And then you almost said there's a path to Denver finishing last in the division.
Oh, I very well could have.
You caught yourself. You could. There's a chance, a possibility that Denver finishes last in the division. Where do you think Denver will finish if you're projecting right now?
All right, I'm going to answer a question with a question, and then I'll come back and answer your question.
Do you always answer a question with a question?
No. Breach, let's predict which team, and Debo, you can join in as well. Brinson will predict to win 4 games next year in this division because there's going to be one. And I said that on HQ as well.
There's going to be I predict, or there's going to be a team that wins 4 games.
The one that you're going to predict. And I don't think it's going to be the Raiders. That's too obvious. So I'm trying to figure out which team you're going to predict because Brinson likes to say stupid stuff and then lean into it.
Well, Brinson is 100% predicting the Raiders to finish in last next season.
No,
That's a given.
I mean, I feel, first of all, that's not an outrageous idea.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I'm just saying.
It's too obvious.
Brinson was about to change his mind because he's like, I'm not that predictable.
I might pick the Raiders to win the division just to really throw everybody for a curve.
The Carr family will have to have a family meeting if that happens. I'm going to go with the Chargers. Brinson's going to pick the Chargers to win fewer games than to lose fewer games than to win fewer than they finish under 500. So I'm trying to say, good Lord.
I mean, here's my thing on the Russ. Like all right. So Steven, all right. What is the impact of Russell Wilson? Because I mean, obviously it takes Seattle down a ton.
They sucked last year though.
Yeah. I don't mind this trade if you're Seattle. I'm a little annoyed that it sort of felt like I feel like we got bamboozled by both sides. Like they decided to play.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing: is that Pete Carroll was at the combine, and his exact words was, "We have no intention of trading Russell Wilson," and that's like me saying, "Like I have no intention of having pizza for dinner tonight, but if my wife shows up with a pizza, I'm going to eat it." You know, like that's it. That's the bottom line. And so, if someone calls the Seahawks, you don't have an intention of trading Russell Wilson. But if somebody blows you away with an offer, you're going to be like, all right, well, you know what? Russell does kind of want out, and we really could stand a rebuild, and we need to add depth at a lot of positions, and they are offering us a lot of picks. Maybe we should just do this. And so that's what it kind of feels like, that they were on the fence leaning toward no, but this was enough that, all right, we're going to trade him.
You know who else isn't happy about the trade? In addition to Seahawks fans losing Russ Wilson? Shelby Harris. Tweeted a little sad emoji. What's that specific emoji face called?
That's a crying emoji.
Crying face from Shelby Harris. I'm assuming that means he does not want it. I don't know these things.
It's a guy it's a face with a tear. I mean,
yeah, but they're like variations of crying emojis. I don't know.
Like there's a monocle involved. I mean,
that would have been cooler. But yeah, so Shelby Harris, he ain't pumped about going to Seattle either.
Yeah, I mean, you don't. And look, we have to. All right, so we have to address this as if. Well, let's talk about Denver first. So Stephen O's projections have.
Well, should we talk about the terms of the pick? I think Debo wanted us to do that like 10 minutes ago, and we just blew it off.
I like this trade has me in a tizzy. Like I told AK I would see her tomorrow, and again I was cussing.
She said, "Peace out."
Yeah, she said, "Please go away." So the Denver Broncos, and this is reported in various places by various people, in terms of what the compensation was. Ultimately, I think it was Jay Glazer who got most of it, and then somebody else added Noah Fant in later, and then lots of people, tweeted out the terms in like very, funky list form or whatever. But the Broncos are getting Russell Wilson and a 4th round pick, which is hilarious.
Right.
And the Seahawks are getting Shelby Harris, Drew Lock, and Noah Fant, former 1st round pick Noah Fant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a 1st round pick, but it's a 1st round pick plus 2 1st round picks, of which the date is currently unknown, and 2 2nd round picks and a 5th round pick. I would have to assume.
Awesome.
There you go. Alan Bell did a great job of aggregating all the information for the picks, except he didn't. Oh, he did have the 5th round pick in there. There we go. I think that I would have to think.
Is anybody more passive aggressive than Debo, by the way?
No, he's amazing.
Aaron Rodgers. That's it.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers and then Debo.
I saw the screen spinning. I was like, I know what's coming. I would have to think that those 1st round picks, or that one of the 1st round picks and the 2nd round picks, because I believe Denver could have multiple 2nd round picks this year. As many as possible of those picks are 2022 NFL draft picks, I would have to think, because when you give somebody Russell Wilson, your expectation is that they will be better the following year. And you want to get the picks now when they're not as good.
You're not trying to get the Rams pick if you're the Lions at 32. So the Broncos have 9. They have the 40th pick this year. You want both of those picks. You ain't trying to get 32 and 64. I mean, that's a huge difference.
Exactly. So, and remember, the Seahawks do not have a 1st round pick this year, or did not have a 1st round pick this year because of the Jamal Adams trade. So, yeah, they gave away a good pick. So now they will have, we'll find out for sure, but I would have to assume that one of the 1st and one of the 2nds are coming this year at minimum. What was the question you asked Breach originally, Wilson? Where would you rank Russell Wilson in the quarterbacks?
Where would you rank the Broncos now that Russell Wilson's their quarterback?
Yeah. So I guess I would ask you the same question, and I would happily do the same, rank the same. Where do you rank Russell Wilson in terms of quarterbacks in the division, and where do we think the Broncos slot in terms of the hierarchy of the division? They're now the 2nd favorite at plus 240 at Caesars to win the division. The Chiefs, oh my God, we're betting the Chiefs, guys. The Chiefs are minus 110 to win the division. This is an overreaction central.
Here's the thing. I think I might pull a Brinson. I'm going to rank the Broncos and the quarterback on the Broncos now, Russ Wilson, 2.5. Like they're tied with the Raiders. Like I have Kansas City, Chargers, and then Broncos and Raiders tied in terms of the expectations. I guess I'm doing sort of win totals here. But Derek Carr is going to be awesome with Josh McDaniels. I'm buying into this Brinson thing, like when Brinson sold me on Joe Flacco.
Wilson, let me ask you that. Even if he's awesome, how many more wins do you think they're going to get than 10, which is what they got without McDaniels last year?
That's fair, but my bigger issue, and while he's learning a new offense, I think that Josh McDaniels will cater to that to what he has. I don't know. You just said it. I don't know which Russ Wilson's showing up. He'll be better, but it's a whole new team, first time ever. Derek Carr's gone through coaches before. Russ Wilson hasn't, and I want to see how long it takes for him to adjust. Maybe it takes 2 weeks. Maybe it takes 2 months. Maybe it takes 2 years. But I know what the Chiefs have. I'm going to be all in on Brandon Staley and Justin Herbert because I love them, and I don't hate the Raiders as much as Brinson hates the Carr family. So I think it could be. I'm going to go 2.5. The ranking for both the Broncos and the Chiefs.
So
sorry, the Raiders. Sorry.
By the way, fun fact for you: via ESPN stats and information, always cite your sources, kids. The Russell Wilson will now become the first quarterback in NFL history to start for a team that he beat in a Super Bowl.
I thought you were going to say be the first quarterback in NFL history to go from one state that has dispensaries to another state that has dispensaries.
Unfortunately, Mr. Infinity is not exactly the type that is going to indulge in edibles.
Also, another fun fact: Denver travels to Seattle next year in the regular season. Another fun fact: if the Seahawks do in fact get the 9th and 40th pick from Denver this year, the Seahawks' first pick is pick 41, so they'll have back-to-back second-round picks at 40 and 41.
And another fun fact, Russell Wilson is the 7th Super Bowl winning quarterback to get traded.
Who are
Brenton,
the
you
first
mentioned he
6?
is the first to get traded to a team he beat in the Super Bowl, but 7th just Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Traded.
Let me
Traded.
guess.
Brady,
Joe Montana.
Brady signed free
Yeah.
agency, so he's not
Did
traded.
Joe
And
Montana get traded?
Peyton Manning was released and signed.
So hold on.
Joe Montana's on
Joe
the
Montana
list.
is one. Okay.
You got one of the 6.
Trade it from the team he won with.
Yes.
Okay. Nick Foles?
Did Nick Foles get traded?
Oh, you just told on yourself, Reach.
Wait, is this your list or is this somebody
No, this is the list I have from another
from an
source.
Alan Bell tweet or something? What's
Reach making stuff up over there.
what
He's like, Nick Foles, who's that?
Nick
I was
Foles
thinking- I was
won
thinking-
a Super Bowl? What are you talking
No,
about?
no, Nick Foles signed with the Jaguars. He wasn't
Yeah,
traded.
he wasn't traded.
You're not counting Carson Wentz, are you?
No. He didn't win the Super Bowl as a starter.
I was going to guess Joe Flacco, but I don't think that's right.
He wasn't traded. I think he was released.
He was released, I think.
I'm out of names.
I mean, Montana's the obvious one. If these are
What decade? What decade? Kurt Warner?
Brett Favre.
Oh, geez.
That was before he won the Super Bowl, though.
No, he got
He was
traded
traded
to
to
the
the
Jets.
Oh, because he was traded from the Falcons to the Packers originally. That's what I was thinking about. I didn't know he got traded to the. I can't remember that.
Favre, Montana, Russell, and there's 3 more or 4 more.
He doesn't know. Depends on whether you want to count Nick Foles.
Checking to see this.
And also, Joe Flacco is on the list. He got traded to the Broncos.
That's
I was
right.
I was going to let
Did
you
he get
stew on
traded?
that one.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. All right. So Flacco. So there are 3 more or 2 more?
2 more.
There are 3 more.
3 more?
I can just give them to you if you want.
Yeah, please-
or is this
please
too
do.
fun?
Kurt Warner, one of them.
No. Jim McMahon,
all right. Wouldn't have
Yeah.
gotten that one. Okay.
Ken Stabler,
Ugh. Andy Dalton.
Johnny Unitas.
Oh, yeah. Those are.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't. I mean, okay. So we got the 3 modern ones. That's good. I would not have gotten the
The rest.
rest. Yeah.
I mean, the Flacco one made things interesting.
The Flacco one was good. That was a good guess by me, even though I was wrong. And
Well,
like,
that
I
was
wouldn't-
because you had picked the Broncos to win the Super Bowl with Joe Flacco, and I bought into it.
so. Oh, look at that. Kevin Keats on the ACC network. Yeah, baby. NC State dead last in the ACC. Amazing. Anyway, I would rank. I think that Caesars has it correct. I do believe there should be some concerns about, like, so I guess this is what we don't know is, does Russ just come in and are they going to let him cook? Like, are they going to, because Nathaniel Hackett has run some good offenses in the past. You know, I know we give a lot of credit to Aaron Rodgers for what Hackett did there, and that's fine. But like, what happens if he lets Russ cook and like the cooking is good? I mean, the Broncos could win 14 games. At the same time, if that defense takes a step back and you lose Shelby Harris, I mean, that's not going to destroy your defense completely. But, oh, actually, you know what's interesting now is, do the Broncos bring back Von Miller?
That is interesting. I feel like they do.
I think they do too, because he was shouting out Broncos country or Broncos nation or something on an Instagram or Twitter
On the Twitter.
video, yesterday on Monday. It makes a lot of sense to bring him back. I don't know what this. I mean, this offense could be top 5 in the NFL. Are they going to try and be conservative and run the ball and let Russ take deep shots? Are they going to do?
Well, they have Javonte Williams, so you can lean on that. And I just think it'll be certainly more progressive than what we saw that made Russ so frustrated. And the offensive line should be better. So the problem is you're going to have to score 40 points a game
to keep up with the Chiefs.
Keep up with the Chargers and the new look Las Vegas Raiders.
I mean, I still think I think Russ for 2022, Russell Wilson is the second best quarterback in the division, in my opinion. And
no way. No, I'm not taking him over Justin Herbert.
Not for the long haul.
Not for next year. Where did you come down, Breach?
I think Wilson, not you, Russell. This is confusing. I would put Russell Wilson for the 2022 season. I'm taking Herbert too. Again, we don't know Wilson's health. I need to see him be the Russell Wilson of old. But I think that if he is completely healthy at 100%, I think he's the second best quarterback for 2022. But I agree with Brenton that I would take Herbert for the long term.
Yeah, I would take Herbert for the long term. Russ, I mean, look, Russ has not been great Russ over the last 2 years, but he's been asking for a trade. The offense isn't necessarily like wasn't necessarily awesome for him. I mean, you can make plenty of excuses for why Russell Wilson struggled. I just think I'll take Russ and his motivation to prove people wrong over.
That's overrated.
Not with him. Over Justin Herbert, at least for this season.
Can't believe Wilson doesn't believe in guys playing well with a chip on their shoulder. You hate chips or you hate shoulders, Ryan? Which one is it?
I hate the fact that at the Super Bowl in Miami, you wouldn't let me and Britson ask questions of Russ Wilson because you kept asking them stupid baby questions.
Yeah, and who's the smart guy now? Who's going to be in Denver with Wilson? My sister just moved to Denver. I'm going to go hang out in Denver all the time. Thank you.
Expect the restraining order shortly.
No one would be surprised to find out that Breach actually currently lives in Denver.
No. And by the way, I found the HQ Anchor version of Breach. It's Tommy Tran. He walks around late at night out there killing people 100%. So I would imagine he and Breach have gotten up to some stuff together. That would be the least surprising news to learn that Tommy Tran also lived in Denver and roomed together in a bunkhouse with old Johnny Breach there.
Yeah, that wouldn't be shocking at all. So yeah, I will take the Broncos second in the division. Would not be shocked at all if the Chargers were the second best team in the division. I mean, that wouldn't be crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if Denver won the division. I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers won the division. I will bet on the Chiefs to win the division at -110 if I'm putting anything down. I think it would be shocking if the Raiders won the division.
Shocking. I mean, that team has pretty shown it won 10 games with complete dysfunction. The Henry Ruggs situation, obviously firing the coach halfway through the year, and they still somehow found a way, and they were competitive in that game until the Bengals cheated there with that.
And the Broncos lost 5 games by 1 score last season. So you throw Russell Wilson in there, they go probably at least 3-2 in those games, and a 7-10 record becomes 10-7. So, it does feel like this team is competitive. And
like, Vic Fangio's sort of coaching style just kind of led him into like the opportunity to lose close games. So yeah, it does feel like they could win more games. All right, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk about what this means for Seattle. And we'll find out if my son Robbie has clicked the YouTube link I sent him on his mother's phone and joined the chat. Next. Robbie likes to send me meme gifts on his way home from school every day. It's very endearing. We text every day for like 15 minutes on his mom's phone. Very fun stuff. Anyway, Seattle has traded Russell Wilson. Let me ask you this. The haul aside, and we can get to that.
Oh, God.
Was the Russell Wilson / Legion of Boom tenure like a success?
Yeah. They should have won 2 Super Bowls and someone made a dumbass call down at the goal line.
I told you children are watching, Wilson. Please, this is a family show.
Oh my God. It was like Wilson did that just to spite you, Brenton. Despite your parenting skills.
You said Robbie curses more than you do.
I did not say stop. My wife is probably listening right now. But yeah, he's got
Stop. My wife is listening right now. I'm not telling in case anything she doesn't know.
Look, one thing we've said a lot this offseason is that Tom Brady, like, just his 7 Super Bowl wins throws everything off, and it doesn't make any comparisons really good. Because, hey, why don't you have 7 Super Bowl wins? But the fact the Seahawks won 1 Super Bowl, I think, means that era was successful. Could have been more successful? Yes. Could Ryan's cuss word have been not used? Yes. But I do think
How about that, Breach? Dumb butt.
Dumb butt's better.
dumb butt.
So if Pete Carroll and the Seahawks don't make that dumb butt call and just give it to Marshawn, right, then they have 2 Super Bowl titles. Or you know what? If Russell Wilson doesn't throw an interception, how about you can still call a pass play, just don't throw an interception.
So Russell's in Seattle for 10 seasons.
Crazy.
Yep.
They went to the playoffs.
There's no way that you're going to paint this
times.
as being a disappointing.
No, I'm just sort of talking about the team. Like,
All right,
he was a 3rd round pick. He was a great draft pick. I mean, it was a
because he was short. Now no one cares about short quarterbacks.
He's the one who sort of kickstarted. Look at that. I love our research team. They're so good. He's the one who sort of kickstarted the whole rookie contract idea. Like, hey, you have to win while you're on you want to have your quarterback on a rookie contract and win because it's cheap. Russ was the perfect solution to this team that wanted to keep adding. Like they added Michael Bennett and Cliff Averill in free agency on cheaper deals, but they were able to pay all these defensive guys because Russ was so cheap. And
it's sort of like what the Eagles did before Carson Wentz imploded. I can't believe I'm jumping all over Debo now.
I know.
I'm a follower, but that was the thinking with the Eagles as well.
At any rate, they only went to two championship games, which is kind of crazy.
Why? I mean, John Harbaugh or Jim Harbaugh, excuse me, he showed up and they started winning right away. It's hard to win. To Breach's point, that was originally my point, which you didn't credit. It's hard to win football games. I mean, Tom Brady sort of set the standard, and everyone thinks their team is supposed to do that. It's impossible.
That's fair. Fair.
Let me ask you this, Breach.
Losing season. I think it was a success, but
let me ask Breach this. So let's say 6 years from now, the Bengals have only gone to that one Super Bowl, but they make the playoffs 5 times. That's a success, right?
Yeah, it's a success. I mean, I think the problem is, though, because the success happened early, that your expectations become higher. So people thought, hey, the Seahawks already won a Super Bowl. The Seahawks made it to back-to-back Super Bowls. There should be more Super Bowls in the future. But then, in hindsight, you look at his career and you're like, okay, that was really successful, even though at the end of this past season, you're like, God, is Russell Wilson, the Seahawks, is this done? They can't get back to the playoffs. Can't get to the Super Bowl. They can't do anything. So it just depends on what point in time you're looking at it. But I do think that, yeah, his career is absolutely successful. And the scenario described, I would think that is also successful.
You know what? That's a fantastic point, Breach, because if Matthew Stafford had taken that dog doo-doo Lions team to the Super Bowl and they lost 2 years in, and then he played the rest of the way that he did, Brinson would have some other guy he'd be pumping up to go to the Hall of Fame. That's a great point.
And you know what? You look at all the Seahawks playoff losses, and they were weird games. That's all the Seahawks play is weird games.
The Denver law. No, they won the Denver game because Russ cried. What are their playoff losses?
One of them was the divisional one to the Panthers, where they were down like 31-0 at halftime. And then they came back and lost by a touchdown, and they almost pulled off that. And the only one where they got really destroyed was against the Falcons in that year when Atlanta went to Super Bowl 51 and lost 36-20. But beside that, I think they were all one score.
I love that you know the final score of that game, because all the score that anyone knows in that Falcons Patriots game is 28-3 or whatever.
28. All right, I guess when they lost to the Rams, but that was a weird game.
All right, so now what for Seattle? As we pointed out,
fold the franchise.
They're starting over
to win the NFC West.
Plus 750. Whew. What were they last year this time?
So as we pointed out earlier,
right?
As we pointed out at the top of the podcast, and I would also point out to the Seahawks. The Seahawks have just tweeted. So both the Seahawks and Broncos have tweeted castaway gifts this afternoon. The Seahawks one is
that's hilarious.
Tom Hanks on a busted raft screaming, "Wilson, where are you?"
So do you know why that they're being sort of vague about this?
Why?
Or Jonathan Jones pointed out that you can't officially announce the trade yet.
Yeah, you can't announce it till.
So, well, I just asked you. You said no, so I'm making.
Yeah, until the league year starts on March 16th, so 4 p.m. Eastern.
I mean, I thought it was like a good reason, but
you didn't know it. Thank you, Breach.
You can literally check like my tweets, and I sent one 30 minutes ago.
No one is reading your tweets. I'm just being.
So basically, the Seahawks could laugh about all this and then just back out all of it and be like, "All right, trade's off. Sorry."
Yeah, in theory, they could do that. You see, Debo put up the Broncos tweeting out just a GIF of Wilson the volleyball. Not a very good gift, but we'll take it. And then the Seahawks did the same thing. Yeah, you can't. The trade cannot be officially announced until the new league year.
As Breach just told you, yes.
Again, I'm aware of these facts. I mean, but here's another more important one: is that Russell Wilson, technically, according to a report out there, has not yet waived his no trade clause. Now that is an interesting one, because he could, in theory, say and not go to Denver if he wanted to.
Yeah,
That's from Jurassic Park. Is that the Jurassic Park?
Yeah. Hold on to your butts.
You don't know what I'm talking about.
There's no way.
It's the
I know what you're
screensaver
saying.
for
It's when
in
Newman.
Jurassic Park.
It's
when they-
Newman's at the computer and it
Oh, yeah.
malfunctions.
No. Newman has been fallen. He's wrecked the car and he's gone. And they have to get in to save the day, and they can't figure out his password. And when they try to enter a password, it's like.
The reason I doubted that you knew it is because when I've been talking up the Parenthood line forever, you're like, oh yeah, wait, what?
No business.
Yeah, that's why. All right, you knew it. Good
You
job.
felt betrayed. I understand. I get it.
There you go.
At any rate, so Prisco tweeted, and we talked about this.
Well, wait a second. It would be idiotic. It would be a jackbutt move, if you will, for Russ Wilson to turn down this trade.
Yeah. Russ is going. He wants out. He wants out.
Yeah. So the no trade clause, I'm not really that concerned about it.
And if we're talking about, by the way, if we're talking about Newman's, I should give a shout out to my buddy Will Newman, who's watching on YouTube and just texted me, Newman! Exclamation point.
There you go.
So the Seahawks, they have Drew Lock now at quarterback, and I guess I need to look real quick to make sure that Geno Smith isn't a free agent. Geno Smith is a free agent, so they now have, after this deal, Drew Lock and Jacob Eason at quarterback. I'm assuming that they would talk Geno Smith into coming back if they wanted to. Do we think that they are done in the veteran quarterback market?
I have no idea because, as Sean noted, Pete Carroll told us last week that he had no intention of trading Russ Wilson. I thought he meant that he would like to keep Russ Wilson around. So, I mean, their guy, Mr. Trubisky is my guy. Jameis Winston's probably going back to New Orleans. Some other free agents, if you're watching on YouTube, that the Seahawks have to concern themselves with, including Dwayne Brown, which is a pretty important part of that offensive line that had something to do, I'd imagine, with Russ leaving. I mean, they could sign one of these guys, but I think if I don't know what you do. This is a start over because unless you're getting Deshaun Watson, as Pete Prisco suggested, and I don't think he was just sort of talking. He didn't say he wasn't talking to anyone about it. Then you're starting over because the QB class isn't great in the draft. They're not allowed to pick from in free agency, and you're in a really, really tough division. So this feels like a 4-win team.
Ryan, I have 2 words for you.
Yeah.
Andy Dalton.
Ugh. All right. 5-win team. My bad.
The Seahawks, their whole thing has been, we want to run the ball and play defense and be this Pete Carroll conservative squad. And that's why it never made any sense to have Russell Wilson in his current form. Like when he was younger and just efficient at play action and a game manager who, had clutch tendencies, like Tom Brady, like early on in the Legion of Boom era, it made total sense. It doesn't make quite as much sense. I mean, now look, if you can go get Deshaun Watson, whole different ball game. And they're in the Deshaun Watson game now. They have to be because they have.
No one knows what's going on with him though. So you trade for him and then he has to sit out a year. Then what?
Well, so all right, so yeah, I mean.
Well, and if you look at the
look,
quarterbacks,
by the way, he's not going to be suspended.
if you look at the quarterbacks in the trade market, Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to Seattle because there's no way the 49ers would let an interdivision trade.
I would trade him to Seattle for a 7th-round pick just to get him, give them that.
I would be shocked if the 49ers let him.
You're acting like he's good.
It would be I agree with Breeze. It would be surprising, but it's not outrageous to think that. Like,
what about Carson Wentz?
What if you thought you were trading? Carson Wentz is what I was going to say next. If you thought you could prevent the Seahawks from getting Deshaun Watson by trading them Jimmy Garoppolo, that's something you should do. Now, if you could prevent them from getting Carson Wentz by trading them Jimmy Garoppolo, you don't do that because you want them to get Carson.
But wait a second. They're a worse team with Jimmy Garoppolo than they were with Russ Wilson banged up. And that's just the truth.
I mean, yes, Jimmy Garoppolo is a downgrade from Russell Wilson. I don't think anybody will.
Who is banged up, I said, like the last half of the last season. I think Jimmy's still worse. I'd rather have 9-figure Russ out there is my point.
Jimmy just had shoulder surgery too. I think the Jimmy G trade is unlikely. Carson Wentz, however, you talk about a guy that
who wants him?
I mean,
I'd rather have Drew Lock.
Would you rather have Drew Lock, Carson Wentz, or Malik Willis?
Malik Willis, because at least I know there's a chance that Malik Willis might be good. The other two, I know where the answer lies. And he's going to do a lot of running for his life behind that offensive line.
Does it seem like it's worth it? Wilson, what do you think about drafting a quarterback at 9th overall? Is the quarterback class good enough that you want to use a top 10 pick, or are you reaching?
You're reaching. And the other math you have to do is like the quarterback class, as we sit here next year, looks good on paper, and things change. So if you're willing to roll with Drew Lock or whatever some veteran happens to be, and you still have these, you can get a really good offensive lineman or an edge rusher or whatever, cornerback at 9, that's worth it, and fix the team around the quarterback that you're going to draft. The issue, of course, is that now you're pushing that quarterback off another year, and you're not getting the rookie till 2023, and you need him to play right away, and all that comes along with that. And again, you might have a low first-round pick, but you'll have 2 first-rounders. I think the Seahawks have their own first-round pick next year, so you can move up if you want. So that's a lot of ifs. But if you like one of these guys, you can take them at 9. I mean, that's sort of high, but not too high if you have some faith in them. If you don't like them, then obviously don't do it.
What if Pete Carroll's plan is just, you know what, we're just going to roll with Drew Lock. We're going to see what happens. If this is a throwaway year, whatever, we'll figure it out next year.
He's 70. How much longer is he going to coach?
I mean, that's a good question. That's the problem. You don't have time for rebuild at 70.
He could coach 5 more years, and that wouldn't be shocking at all.
But here's the thing. He's incredibly conservative in terms of the way he coaches based on how the young whippersnappers are coaching, going forward on 4th down, running the ball all the time. He's not going to get less conservative as he gets older. It's just going to get further and further away from what the NFL norm, quote unquote, is. And, he's not helping his team maximize their chances of winning football games. So, yeah, he could coach another 5 years, but I don't know if that's in his best interest or the Seahawks' best interest.
Yeah,
I think that they will.
Yeah, from Breach. Yeah.
I mean, he's 119, 73-1. I mean, like he's
okay. Then keep rolling him out there.
He's a good coach. Like, you might not like his offensive approach, but he's a good.
Let me ask you this: is he maximizing the Seahawks' chance of winning football games by his in-game decisions?
And probably not.
Okay, well that's where I'm coming down. He is a great coach. He went to the Super Bowl twice. He won one. I get all that, but he seems to be going in the opposite direction from not the Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley's clearly the other side of the crazy scale, but even the middle of the road guys that are being a little more aggressive on 4th down.
I get it. I think that Seattle now has. I'm curious to know what Seattle is going to do next, because I think they could get. I think they could get Carson Wentz for almost nothing.
Of course. And why do you think that is?
Because Carson Wentz. I don't like Carson Wentz. You don't need to tell me that. I don't need to explain to me that Carson Wentz isn't very good. So
what's the plan with Carson Wentz? To win 6 or 7 games, or what's the plan?
They can, if they improve, if their defense is good, and that's the problem. Their defense has to be good. You bring back Rashad Penny. You have a good running game. Carson. You hide Carson Wentz. You let Carson Wentz make some plays, but mostly he's just a game manager. Or maybe
I would rather play Drew Lock. I think he's the final year of his deal.
Well, I mean, Wentz though is the perfect quarterback for what Pete Carroll wants to do, which is just you don't need him to do anything. You make 1 throw per game, Carson, and that I'll be happy.
Well, bring back Geno then. I mean, what's the difference?
Yeah, bring back Geno. I don't think Geno's a bad option. He looked good in their offense last year.
It feels like Carson Wentz sort of doesn't get along with his teammates. On the outside looking in, I don't have any inside information, but that seems to be the case of the Colts are willing to move on from him, and the Eagles are. So at least Geno appeared to be liked by his teammates.
They probably need to do something.
Yeah, no, I think that's a starting point for sure.
And I would rather, if I am Pete Carroll and I'm the Seahawks, I would rather go with a veteran quarterback.
Yeah,
versus trying to make something happen with this particular rookie class. That's just
what about Drew Lock? You just got him. He's better than Carson Wentz.
It feels like the Seahawks kind of just said, "We throw Drew Lock in the trade. We need a safety net here, just in case we can't get a quarterback in free agency or in a trade or in the draft. You have Drew Lock just in case."
All right, Breach here.
You don't want to have to use Drew Lock.
Okay, rank them then. These are your options.
Okay,
Geno, Wentz, Lock. Who are you starting the Seahawks season with?
What do I have to give up to get Wentz?
I mean, it's Carson Wentz.
You can get him for the.
Well, no, because I already have Lock in hand. So if I have to give up a second round pick to get Wentz,
no, 6th round pick, a late 6.
Late 6. Yeah, I'll trade for Carson for that.
This is crazy. I can't stand for this. This is nuts. This is Ryan heading to this dispensaries. I don't know what the hell is happening. We're talking about Geno. If Ryan was Chris Sims and he was doing his annual quarterback rankings, it sounds like he would have Wentz 63 in the NFL.
We broke Devo. We broke him.
What are we doing? Geno Smith, Drew Lock. I can let's bring it back to the fair comparison of someone like Jimmy G. We're going to Geno Smith.
Yeah, it's a little ridiculous, Wilson.
You hate Carson Wentz more than anyone.
I know, and I think you're going too far. Like that's
Okay. Well, here's where
I
I had no issue with Carson Wentz last year on the Colts, but here's where I'm taking my cue from. Chris Ballard and Frank Reich. I mean, they didn't mince words about we're looking because we weren't happy with
Frank Reich hadn't said anything.
He had a sad face on when he was talking about why
because he knows that he failed with Carson Wentz and his boss is going to trade him.
Failed is the word that we should keep underlining because that's why we're having this conversation.
Look, the bottom line is if you were starting those rankings and it's Drew Lock, Carson Wentz, and Geno Smith, it is Carson Wentz and then a sizable gap and then Drew Lock and then
let's do this though. Take those rankings and then put a expected win total next to each name for the Seahawks next year.
8.5 with Carson Wentz.
How many did he win in Indianapolis?
Didn't they go like
9?
That
was a perfect situation. So I don't know. I don't think they're winning. I'm taking the under on 8.5.
I'm the Wentz guy, but like to be fair, like obviously full health Russ is miles above Carson Wentz, but like banged up Russ last year is the comparison you're making. That was not a good version of Russ. I think Wentz versus banged up Russ is a fair comparison in a sense.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so you said 8.5 on the first one. Breach is taking the under. All right, go to Geno Smith next.
Under.
Brenton, keep talking. Let's go.
Geno, how many games do they win with Geno?
Yeah.
4.
So you're telling me Carson Wentz is 4.5 games better on the Seahawks than Geno Smith?
I mean, they're not going to be a good football team with Geno Smith.
All right, go ahead. What's the next guy? Drew Lock.
6.
So Geno in this scenario is the worst. He almost beat the Steelers.
This is like I feel like I'm
providing for like 6 years.
I feel like I'm providing a very milquetoast take here.
He got punched in the face on a sucker punch. That set his career back a couple years.
I think there was a reason he hadn't started since the Eli game, since he took over for Eli.
Yeah, how disrespectful that he broke Eli's record. All right, I think the 8.5 is a bit ambitious, but I don't know. We'll see. The 6 is probably or the 4. The 4. What about the 4 breach? Over under on that?
With who?
Geno.
Over.
6 with Drew Lock.
Push.
Yeah, I might take the under on that 6 too. I think
let me ask you this. How many games the Seattle Seahawks win in 2022 with Kirk Cousins as their quarterback?
0.
9.
9.
Kirk Cousins is definitely a better option than Wentz, right?
No, he is 100%. My concern is that they're not winning 8.5 games with Wentz. My concern with Kirk Cousins is that he's going to be running for his life because that offensive line is terrible. And if things aren't perfect for Kirk or, near perfect, I think things break down quickly. He does have the receivers though. So that's good. And they have the tight end now, Noah Fant. So I'll say 7.5.
For
what?
For Kirk Cousins?
Yeah. 7.5 for Kirk Cousins.
I'm taking the over.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
what do you know?
With Cousins.
You just said 8.5. You said 8.5 for Wentz. You're smoking some of that dispensary weed that Debo thinks I have.
You have it, trust me.
Hey-o.
I can't prove.
We need Wentz.
You're talking about Wilson or me? You can't prove anything.
That's right.
I was talking about Wilson, but okay.
You can't drug test me through this.
I'm just kidding.
Through the StreamYard machine.
Oh my god.
I was going to ask. I don't want to be like overly hyperbolic, but like this could definitely qualify as the biggest trade in NFL history. I know like Herschel Walker meant different things back then, and just the significance.
Ricky Williams trade was crazy. I think the Ricky Williams trade was the entire draft class for Ricky Williams. Is that what it was?
Right. I mean, maybe if we remove draft day decisions like Eli.
No, this is still huge though. This is still a huge trade.
I like your approach on the hyperbolic thing, Debo, because I don't want to like just like flatly just outright agree with you because I also am afraid of being hyperbolic because I am a genuinely.
You are not afraid of that.
I am a genuinely hyperbolic person, so I try to stay away from it in situations whenever I can.
And when someone is measured as Debo offers that up, you have to consider it.
Yes.
I think it's fair.
I think that it's.
We've never seen a quarterback at this obviously going back to breaches that.
He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. We're getting that, right?
A Hall of Fame quarterback that won a team for a Super Bowl. It happened 6 times. And, Brett Favre at that point was not the guy that they were trading for. Like Russ is much better at this point in his career than Brett Favre was in year 14 or 15.
Breach, what do you got? Anything close to this?
Joe Montana would be my
But he was also the downside of his career too.
That's what.
Yeah,
I think that was year 14 for him.
He was coming off a 14-1 season in 1990, and then he got injured and missed the whole 91 season.
I mean, you could throw out like Randy Moss to the Patriots, but
Nah.
that was when Randy Moss was kind of suffering in Oakland.
What about Matt Castle to the Chiefs? Where's that fit in?
I mean,
What about Eli for Phillip Rivers?
Yeah, that's
right. The draft day stuff is tricky.
I mean, what was it? We were doing those. We were live doing the some show 2 years ago or 3 years ago when it was like Hopkins and Gurley, or was it Hopkins and what was the trade?
David Johnson
and Hopkins, and that felt like Jimmy Graham and I mean it's Russell.
But it's a quarterback. It's one of the
Jimmy
5
Graham.
faces of the league.
Did you just say Jimmy Graham?
The Jimmy Graham Max Unger trade was a massive trade.
Shut up.
But I mean, but that's the point. My point is, like, if you start listing out like the biggest trades of the last 10 years,
I mean, Khalil Mack, that's a big one of the past.
That's a big trade. Not quite as big as the Max Unger one, but it's
Jimmy Graham was in his prime. What are you talking about?
You're talking about an offensive lineman and tight end. Get out of here. He's talking about Russ Wilson.
I mean, it probably is. I don't think it's crazy.
Listing notable trades in the past 10 years.
Oh, I thought you meant that was
Jimmy Graham, Max Unger.
I thought you meant that was in competition with the Russ Wilson.
No, I'm just trying to think of like big. I'm trying to think of trades where I was like, holy bleep.
Okay,
I cannot believe that just went down.
I thought you were being hyperbolic, but yeah, you're right.
No. We saw Nick Foles. No, I was kidding. Nick Foles get traded. The Sam Bradford trade, the preseason trade after Bridgewater got hurt, that was a big deal. I mean,
what about Antonio Brown to the Raiders for a 3rd round pick? Does that squeeze in there? Is that like a top 10? I don't even know if that's top 10.
Antonio Brown qualifies only because he was traded to the Bills for like 5 minutes too.
Oh, right. And he made the Steelers trade him for
forced
reasons.
His way out of Pittsburgh. That's up there. But
I would throw like Terrell Owens for me, if I'm making my personal list, but that was massive in 2004.
Yeah. This is different because it is a quarterback, a future Hall of Fame quarterback who won a Super Bowl with the team that he was on, asked for a trade last offseason, did not get traded, played the whole year, appeared to be happy. A week ago, actually less than a week ago, his coach came out and said, no, there is no way in hell we are trading Russell Wilson. And then he's dealt out of nowhere. And it comes on top of the fact that it happened like 3 hours after Aaron Rodgers re-ups with Green Bay.
Now, I know that someone said Favre, he was on the tail end of his career, but he was also the Packers were coming off an NFC title game appearance when they traded him. So, I mean, that's pretty huge.
But the Packers had Aaron Rodgers. They had a 1st round pick in the wings.
Right, but you're dumping your Super Bowl winning quarterback who has who was coming off an NFC
Well, he
title
wouldn't
game
quit unretiring. So
he kept waffling, and basically what Aaron Rodgers is doing now is what Brett Favre did then.
No, that should absolutely be put up there. But I think quarterback trades, you're talking Montana, Favre, and Russ is in some order, those 3.
Debo, what about that Joe Flacco trade?
I mean, you could throw out like you throw in, if you're doing top 10, like the Stafford Goff trade enters that list.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I can't believe old Brinson didn't bring that. He's already off the Stafford bandwagon, like I said.
Stafford Goff's up there, but it was like also, I think to me, when we talk about the impact too, is like we're also in the moment of it where it's like the events leading up to it. Like I was pretty confident Russell Wilson was not getting traded. And with Stafford, we knew that Stafford it had been reported and been leaked out that Stafford had gone to the Lions and said, "Hey, I'd like to get out." And it was just a matter of where was he going. With Russ, it was like there's no way they're trading him. Like they can't trade him. And who would they trade him to? And then when Rodgers stayed put, it's like, all right, Russ, it's going to be a boring offseason. Russ is going to stay put, and then wham, I'll buy him. I'll thank you, ma'am.
By the way, I just looked quickly at some of the worst trades ever, QB involving quarterbacks. In 1998, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers gave up the 2nd overall pick for Chris Chandler, who was sort of a middle-of-the-road quarterback. That one's not great.
That's not ideal.
Jeff George.
The Buccaneers trade away Steve Young for peanuts.
Yep, I just saw that one. And, of course, the Chargers traded up for Ryan Leaf and didn't take Peyton Manning as part of the draft day trade, that asterisk that Debo was talking about there. And Brett
Oh,
first is on.
I know our pal C-Rad in the chat pointed out Eric Dickerson, the Colts is big at the time. Also, Marshall Falk and Edge James. Did you say that one already?
No.
Marshall Falk, Edge James is a big trade, but like NFL. Here's the other thing: is that NFL trades have not for veteran players have not been a thing forever.
Right, it had to be baseball or basketball, and then sort of NFL got back in on it and made it a lot more fun to.
But so because there were no trades, like only now is it possible to make these big trades and like to actually send up like Carson Wentz is traded to the Colts, Matthew Stafford's traded, Tom Brady wasn't traded, but departs. Like this quarterback movement that we're seeing has and just the ability to make these trades. It's just a different NFL landscape than it was over the past 30 years. So yeah, I do think this is the biggest NFL trade in the history of
the world
today.
What about Boomer Esiason?
Yeah, that's number 2.
Okay. He got traded to the Jets. That's coming 4 years off the Super Bowl. That's the biggest trade in NFL history.
Good point. Anyway, let's go so we can come back in 10 minutes.
No, I agree. I think this feels like the biggest trade ever.
Yeah. All right. So if you're watching in the chat, we're going to leave.
Go take a quick coffee break and
I'm going to fill up my water, and we're going to come back, and we will do a franchise tag deadline. While we were recording the show, multiple franchise tags occurred or didn't occur. We'll be back in like 10 minutes.
Good tease.
Talk to you guys then.